Governor Chris Sununu just delivered his first State of the State address, painting an upbeat picture of his accomplishments in the last year and where the state of New Hampshire is headed. And he is our guest this morning. Governor Chris Sununu, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Before we get to that State of the State address, let's unpack a little bit about what we know about this new Medicaid expansion bill, a placeholder unveiled essentially Thursday into Friday. One of the big aspects of this is a name change, of course, too. It's going to be called the Granite Advantage Healthcare Program. But let's talk about a key component, which is funding. We know in the transition to managed care, the state's probably going to save around $200 million. Are you confident that we can get a waiver to recapture some of that and try to fund this new program?
Well, that is one of the key aspects of the saving $200 million is a big win for taxpayers without moving anybody off of the plan. It's just good management. And that's why it's not just about renaming the plan. We're doing it differently. We're creating more flexibilities. And we've been working with the federal government. That's part of the negotiation that we're in now. We'll probably see a few more amendments on this bill as we really finalize those details. But obviously trying to recapture some of those dollars back to New Hampshire is a key priority. We need to make sure that they come back flexible, right? Not just allocated to one thing or another, not with those typical Washington strings attached. This is a plan for New Hampshire, done New Hampshire's way, and we need to make sure we have that flexibility.
And Republicans have made some pretty hard and fast promises here, especially in the legislature. No new taxes or fees associated with this, no general fund dollars. Right. So there has to be a funding mechanism that's going to satisfy that. Does that funding mechanism exist, and how are you going to pull that off?
There's a couple different options that we have. Again, what we have to see is what's going to come out of Washington, how it's going to look, and I think that will dictate a little bit some of the options that some of the strings we can pull here. But the fact is that we do have options, and we just want to make sure we get it right. You kind of have one shot at this. This would be a reauthorization for the next 5 years. So whatever we do, it shouldn't be rushed. We're taking our time, but we'll have hopefully the details in the next coming weeks, and it will be a New Hampshire plan.
The work requirement is a key component of this also to get Republican votes. How do you ensure that that doesn't become too much of an impediment for someone in a part of the state where it's harder to find work?
Well, the work requirement is something that is, if you see the poll numbers, it's generally favored pretty strongly across the state. We have 2.6% unemployment. We provide a lot of flexibility in the work requirement. It could be in job training program, education, working for nonprofits, a standard, full-time, part-time job. It's really based on the hours potentially worked. So there's flexibilities that are built in there. So we really feel comfortable that we've set it up so there aren't any barriers, and it drives and incentivizes people to re-engage in the workforce, which they want to do. There's a lot of available jobs in New Hampshire. Our economy is booming right now, so it's the perfect time to take advantage of a win-win for everyone.
Let's get to your State of the State address. One of the key aspects, an executive order that you signed in order to literally bring some pieces of agencies to sort of these far-flung state groups that look after veteran services under one roof, literally. This is going to be actual physical proximity for these folks, even though they will still be separate agencies?
Just the opposite. We're going to bring the agencies together, even though the people may physically be where they are now. We have a lot of great veteran services in the state, so let's not mistake that. But we don't have a one-stop shop for veterans. We don't, and we frankly, this is probably something we should have done 30 years ago. We tried to do it with a piece of legislation in this past session. Did not pass. I don't think we can ask veterans to wait any longer. We've done some great things with providing more flexibility with choice in health care here in New Hampshire to be a model for the rest of the country, allowing VA doctors to practice in private settings. That's awesome flexibility for those veterans. And now we're going to move a lot of the veteran services under our Adjutant General and really make that department much more broad and encompassing, so it includes the National Guard with veteran services. One thing I said yesterday, and I firmly believe, when you sign those enlistment papers, you're a soldier for life. And we as civilians have the obligation to make sure we're providing that real continuum of care and a one-stop shop for veterans to get the services and help that they need.
In your speech, you also referenced the recent mass shooting in Florida and pointed out a lot of the school safety and security measures that have been taken here to improve things in New Hampshire. There are a lot of people who want to see something more done and on the front of gun control. Obviously, this is an issue for Republicans who support the Second Amendment that's delicate to work around. But we do have restrictions on things like automatic weapons or machine guns. Is it reasonable at some point to re-extend that restriction to something like so-called assault weapons or the AR-15?
Well, so let's look at what we've done. I think we've made some huge steps here. We invested $20 million in grants this year already to what will approximately be about 300 schools, specifically for security measures. These are cameras, these are lockdown procedures, these are emergency plans, these are new entranceways, these are security card readers, so that when our kids go to school, we know if we can't put our kids on a bus and know that they're going to be safe, what else really matters? So we've put a real focus and emphasis on that, and that offsets a lot of the local property taxes that otherwise would have had to pay for these measures as well. Look, when you're talking about crises like this, we know one is too many. One is too many, and so in some ways there's never enough that you can do. When it comes to the, gun laws, I know everyone's talking about that. To think that we can just pass laws and make this all go away, unfortunately that's just not the case. Otherwise we would do that. So it really has to be all-encompassing. Undiagnosed mental health. This is another issue we need to be very aggressive on. Judge Broderick, who I know you've had on the show many times, he's been on the forefront, and I've visited high schools with him talking about undiagnosed mental health issues in our youth. We just don't do enough of it. We don't have the programs in place, and that's why, as part of the speech yesterday, making mental health a priority of the state is such really on the forefront. We put $15 million last year. We're putting more money into the new programs this year, really getting at and working with the adolescents on prevention services, whether you're talking about opioids or mental health, behavioral health issues. These are where the state really needs to go to make effective measures forward.
And Democrats have something they can point to here: gun control. What is the Republican plan to deal with mass shootings?
I can't speak to a Republican plan. I don't think there should be a Republican plan or a Democrat plan. I don't think there's anything political when you're talking about mass shootings and tragedy, right? There's nothing political about any of that. It's common sense solutions. So it's, again, security in the schools, dealing with some of the undiagnosed mental health issues, really getting at the crux of the problem. We have pretty good gun laws in the state. We really do. I'm not looking for any further restrictions at this time. I don't think many people are, frankly. I think that's a gut reaction that we have, but we have to look at what is the crux here. And I think if we focus on the kids and we focus on our communities, that's where we can get the best results.
We're going to be looking at another bill in the legislature here, House Bill 372, that deals with sort of raising the bar for tightening up voting requirements and restrictions there. You came out very strongly against this initially, but then left the door open, saying if changes were made to this, you would think about signing it. Have those changes been made, and is this something, if it passes, that you will sign?
I'm not sure where the bill is right now. Timing is everything. And again, we passed SB 3 last year, kind of a first phase in really making sure we have integrity in our system. We know we're the first in the nation primary state. We have to have some more integrity and not a tightening of the laws, but make sure people understand what the rules are and make it clear to folks. And I don't know if that's ever really been done. SB 3 will go through the process. It'll likely be challenged in court. I think it's being challenged now. We have full confidence that'll pass. And then at a certain time, we can take up some of the aspects of 372. There's some good stuff in that bill. There is. I think there were some potential indirect consequences that it would have opened up, and those are some of the questions that we're currently asking. I don't have quite all the answers yet. We have to make sure that whatever we do for the long term. We're not always trying to tweak our system. Let's get it right, and let's give the people of the state assurance that our system is one that they can rely on.
Should people who win the lottery in New Hampshire be allowed to remain anonymous?
Well, that is our current law now. Right now, when you win the lottery, you can remain anonymous.
It's a default, though.
Yeah, well, what we're dealing with now is if you, this woman, and I feel for her, I really do, in that the question is, can you change your mind? Right? She signed the ticket. Can you kind of take that back? That's really something for the courts to decide. This is the live free or die state. I'm all about anonymity and allowing people to remain anonymous. And it looks like she may have this may be progressing along such that she can remain anonymous, but it's something that the courts will ultimately have to figure out.
Do you have an opinion here, though? Do you think she should keep the money, or I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, she should definitely keep the money.
Do you think she should keep her privacy?
I think there should be flexibility in the system to allow somebody before they claim the money to remain anonymous.
Because the idea, I mean, you kind of have to know ahead of time not to sign. That's an awkward thing to have to do.
If you or I signed a legal document, we could go to our lawyers and sit down and certify and make changes to that document and get that certified. I think it should be treated kind of the same way. That if you have folks in the room and it's being certified and there's witnesses and you have a good legal process to ensure that this is the will of the person making the change before any of the money has changed hands, I don't see why we shouldn't have some flexibility in our system to allow her to remain anonymous.
It certainly is a lot of money. So
yes, it is.
Well, Governor Chris Sununu, thank you for your time here today.
Thank you.
We appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.